G'day, I'm Mike Hayes and welcome to Jazz Guitar Chord-melody, part 46. Over the years, my interest in arranging has run parallel with my study of the guitar. And I've spent many a pleasant hour listening to fantastic arrangements by Gil Evans, Johnny Dankworth, and Australia's own John Sangster. And actually, if you ever get a chance to pick up this album by John Sangster, it's a beauty. It's called Lord of the Rings, and I can highly recommend it. But that's another story for another day. And there's a common theme that runs through all these fantastic arrangements, and that is there's an element of surprise for the attentive listener, and also there's a sense of movement. And that's what we're here to talk about today, how to create some movement in the inner voices of your chords. And so before we get started, I'd just like to quickly remind you to subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to click on the notifications so you'll know just as soon as our latest video is available. Okay, well, I won't hold you up any further. It's pretty exciting stuff. So let's go see what we've got in store for you today. We'll begin this session by playing the scale tone 7th chords in the key of C on strings 2, 3, 4 and 5, and we'll play all the chords on this string set. And don't forget to check out the names of the notes that are located under your fingers in each chord shape. Here we go. Here's that same exercise again, only this time I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that the diagrams are indicating the note intervals in each chord. In other words, they will indicate the root note, the 3rd, the 7th, and so on. Here we go. Before we play this next exercise, I'd just like to draw your attention to a couple of really important points. Each of these chord shapes that we're about to play will not contain a 5th. And I'm sure you would have noticed in the previous exercise where I mentioned that all the intervals were marked in the chord diagrams. If you're really paying attention, you will have noticed that the top note, the note on the 2nd string, was the 3rd of each chord. The note under your fingers on the 3rd string was the 7th of each chord. The 4th string contained the 5th of each chord, and the root note was located on the 5th string. So with this set of chords, we're basing it on the same chord shapes that you just played, only we're leaving out the notes on the 4th string. And the other important thing I'd like you to notice is the fingering that's marked in each one of these chord shapes. And the fingering is very important because it will allow us the freedom to add additional notes to our basic set of chords. Okay, let's have a listen. Okay, I'm sure you can hear there's more musical space in each chord now. The next step is that we're going to set about and create some movement with the inner voice of this chord. And by that I mean we're going to create this movement from a 7th to a 6th. Let's have a look at the C chord, the very first one. We're going to move this B note down to the note A, which of course is the next lowest scale note in the key of C. And of course what this does is produce a C6th chord. So essentially we're going to be moving between a C major 7th, and then when we change the B note to an A, we'll then be playing a C6th. And we'll be using this technique right throughout the whole scale. For example, if we went to the D minor 7th and we move the C note down to the next lowest scale note, which in this instance would be the note B, the resultant chord would be a D minor 6th. Just one thing I'd like to mention before we go ahead and try this out is that when I'm referring to a 6th, in this instance I'm referring to a diatonic 6th. In other words, the note is 6 away from the root note, and this note is found in the key of C. Say for example, if I was referring to the E minor chord, where the inner chord voice is changing from a D to a C natural. And that means the note C is 6 notes away from the note E in the key of C. Okay, let's try them out. I'm sure you can hear the movement between the 7th and the 6th. Let's try another example where we try a couple of different rhythms. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to establish the chord sound by playing the 3 notes of the chord, which will contain the root note. And then I'm going to play the remainder of the rhythm on just 2 strings. In the example that we've just played, I played a solid 3 notes for each chord. But this tends to get a little bit too clunky. So generally what I do to keep the chords moving and to keep them light and springy is that I play 3 notes to establish the chord sound and then 2 notes to create the movement. Here we go. Okay, I think you'll agree that they're a pretty cool sound. Let's try one more example for this session, and I'll be doing the same idea where I'm playing a straight bar where I'm moving from the 7th to the 6th and alternating that with a bar that has a different type of rhythm. And in this example that I'm going to play, I'm playing 7th, 6th, then a semitone below the 6th, and then returning to the 6th. Just to give you a taste of the type of things that you can do with this type of playing. Okay, here we go. Okay, hopefully that's given you some fun things to think about and practice. Don't forget, if you have any questions or comments, to pop them in the comment section below this video. And I look forward to catching up with you again next time. Bye for now.